It's wALT backstage at the Two Brothers Roundhouse with another beer with the band, hanging out with Brother Sundance. Dude, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Of course, man. It's so cool to get to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Been playing Blind on the radio, and it sounds amazing, and people are responding to it. Let's go back to the beginning, because I know that you started playing drums.
Yep.
At a very early age.
I've been playing the drums since I was about 2 years old.
Now, how does that work?
You
can't even reach the pedals at 2.
My dad was a drummer his whole life and still is. So there have been drums in the house forever. And for my second Christmas, my dad's parents got me a tiny little drum kit, and
right.
There's photographic evidence of me playing the drums when I was 2, so I'm not full of it. And as soon as I was big enough, I was playing my dad's kits, and I've been playing ever since.
So, your family was musical?
My dad's side. So I have a sister. She sings. My dad's a big drummer. I do. Brother Sundance. And then my mom, we all joke, is kind of like the non-musical one. We put her on the tambourine.
So drums seems to make sense because your dad played.
Yeah.
But then at some point then branched out and started adding other instruments.
Yeah. So the very true story is I had a girlfriend in the freshman year of high school who was obsessed with One Direction and all, and then like 5 Seconds of Summer and the whole thing. And I was like, if I could just like learn to play guitar, I'm going to be the coolest guy in the world, and she's going to like be into it. And then like I learned, and she was just like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, oh man, that's about it.
I love that though. That is awesome. Cause I think there are a lot of people who go to do that move.
Yeah.
And where is she today?
She is back in Florida, not my girlfriend, but we are good friends.
Oh, okay.
And I've told that story before in interviews, and she texted me one day like, you told the story about me, and I was like, yeah, I did.
We'll expect another text.
Yeah.
And then you put together a band called Wallace.
Yes, I did.
And you kind of influenced by the White Stripes?
Big time. Yeah, it was perhaps overly so.
Okay. But there's nothing wrong with that, because you know what? A producer once told me in my band that we should try to make a Metallica song or something, because it'll never sound like Metallica.
That was actually, I used to tell people that, and nobody ever bought into that, like, because it was easy for me as the artist, like, I think people thought it was like a cop-out for me to say that, but that's really truly what I believed. Like, right. I'm going to push really hard to be the White Stripes, but I know for a fact I can't be the White Stripes.
You'll never be Jack White.
Yeah, so it was like a modification.
Right, because you're not Jack White, so you've got your own filters that's going to add your own elements. I love that.
Yeah, and I didn't mean, I never said that to someone, and like I was just trying to like get out of the White Stripe thing. I was like, actually, I meant it. Like, I went out and I like figured out how Jack White did his thing, so I could come in that realm, and it was a whole thing.
I totally get it.
I appreciate that, and go tell the people back in Florida that, because nobody ever believed me.
I love it. But then at some point, you're like, that's not the end all be all, because the Brother Sundance persona came on.
So I originally I was in Wallace for about a year, and we were just doing the local thing really hard. We were playing every weekend, and I went to start making the next Wallace record, and there was a band, but I tracked everything. Like, I played drums, guitar, sang on the records, wrote it all. So I started making the next Wallace record, and it started as a rock record and kind of White Stripes-y. And then I had this set of realizations like that kind of led me to Brother Sundance, and the first Brother Sundance record, like the record that's on the radio, started as a Wallace record. I spent 3 days in a studio, 12 hours straight every day, like huge thing, had like grown like facial hair, like I was like people thought I was crazy at the end of it, making a rock record, and I got it out and I was like, I don't love it, and I had burned all my money, so that's the reason I know how to produce, was I had burned all my money tracking a rock record, and then realized I had to like program drums because I couldn't record real ones, and like had to like program the piano because I couldn't record a real one, and that's when producing and Brother Sundance and everything came about.
But just think about how you've now developed those skills that you're going to be able to take with you with every project that's going to come
I get
down
to produce for other people now. It's like it was a very, very beautiful way for that to come about. I never sat down and said like, I'm going to be a producer. It was just sort of like, it's almost cooler than that, because it feels like a part of me, because I didn't sort of contrive it. It was just sort of, it happened.
Right. So the current EP that you have out now, Honey, you played those instruments yourself.
That was all me.
And you produced it yourself?
That was all me. Yeah.
That's incredible.
In my bedroom on a $200 microphone and a MacBook.
So when we hear Blind on the radio,
Yep.
we should picture you in a...
Picture me probably sitting in my underwear, like half asleep, like going like, oh man, I need a bridge, and like just like murmuring things into a microphone for like an hour until I found something. Because that's what the record was. I put everything else on hold in my life, and every day I woke up and it felt like I had nothing to do, but I did have something to do. I had to like produce this thing.
Right.
So every day I'd wake up and I'd spend like the first 3 hours of the day like in my pajamas, and then like something would hit and I would like sit there and
that's it. It's like, I don't know, I'll have that much time these days to be creative when I can sit in my studio, but it doesn't work like that. You can't go, I've got 2 hours now.
Yeah.
I've got to be creative. I'm going to write a song. It comes when it comes.
And it does. I've learned now over the last year and a half being Brother Sundance that you can, if you really, it's almost like, it sounds counterintuitive, but you can practice creativity. And if you work hard enough at it and if you do it every day, like it can come more kind of on demand. Like
sure,
sit down in a studio and be like, I kind of got this.
It's like a muscle.
It is absolutely a muscle. And I'm like the biggest believer in that. Like I can sit down in a studio and kind of, it's not going to be the best thing in the world necessarily, but I can pull something together that sounds halfway decent. And that's because I do it every day, and it is a practice thing.
Well, awesome.
Thank you.
So now you've put together a band, because obviously you can't play all these instruments by yourself on stage.
Yeah.
How did this band come together?
So I moved to Nashville right after I made Honey, started promoting it, doing the whole thing. And my team and I put together a band of really, really, really talented Nashville musicians who are all great friends of mine.
They are really talented in Nashville.
Yes, they really are. They're all great friends of mine, but there was something about it that didn't feel like home. Like I was out on the road with these people I had just met, and I didn't feel the same way I felt back when I was in Florida. And the shows weren't as good. Like it just wasn't happening. So I was like, I'm going to try something different. So I called all of my friends from Florida, and I was like, do you want to like fly all over the country and like do this with me? And they all said yes. So my best friend from childhood is my tour manager. My other best friend from childhood is our kind of crew guy, tech guy, guitar tech, whatever you want to call him. My drummer is from an old friend from Florida, and then the girls who sing with us are from Florida too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Every time we play, we have like 10 different people on 10 different flights coming from Florida to Nashville.
Are they loving it?
I think we're all loving it. We were just talking about it. We had a bite to eat before the show, and we were talking about how regardless of whether the record blows up and takes over the world or if it tapers off, regardless of what happens, these are going to be fantastic memories, and I think that's what matters.
Absolutely. And it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yep.
Just always remember that.
Yeah.
From my age and experience to you.
Thank you.
So what's next? Are you working on a new EP or a full-length album?
I think I've got a lot of new music. About half the show we're going to play tonight is new music. So there's been talk of a new EP. There's been talk of a full length. I don't exactly know what the plan is yet.
Right.
But in the meantime, I'm experimenting, and I think that's how records sort of start for me. Is I don't really know what I'm making, but I make a lot. Like it's like I've got like 150 files for the new record, and then I kind of figure out like, oh, these like 5 things work, and then I go make the record.
I think it's amazing because when you work solo and you're doing everything yourself, how do you ever know when something is done? Because I know I could be in my studio and I could noodle away at something to death and then redo and like, I keep going at it.
There's a funny thing with me. One day I just stop working on things. Like I'll nitpick and all my friends hate me because I drive around in the car. I'm not kidding. With a single 3, like even sometimes I don't have a full song. It's like a 50-second loop that I will sit there for like 45 minutes driving somewhere listening to, and everybody thinks I'm crazy, and I'll do that for months on something, and then one day it'll be done, and I won't know why, and all of a sudden I'll like never listen to it again. had listened to Honey probably 150, 200 times before I put it out, and have not listened to it since because it's gone. I can't touch it anymore.
Done.
Yeah.
Time to move on. All right.
Yeah, and I love it, and I hear it on the radio, and that's cool. But like, I haven't sat down and been like, oh, I'm gonna listen to Honey today.
Well, I'm very excited to see where your career goes because you're off to a fantastic start, and you've got an enormous future ahead of you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see the show tonight. Brother Sundance here at the Two Brothers Roundhouse. Thanks for hanging with us.
Thank you for having me.
Backstage.
This is so cool.
Of course.
I'm so
The
excited.
Two Brothers Green Room. It's wALT from 101 WKQX. Thanks to Two Brothers who want you to follow your passion and drink theirs.